Hi. Hello. I am low energy today. Sorry. And you will see cats, probably. So, if you all know or you don't, I have sadly suffered. I have sadly suffered from a fair few losses, as in deaths. So, this video is going to be about that. Well, and about grieving and, long-term grief. But if you don't want to think about dead people or hear about people I know who have passed, or, it's just a little bit of a kind of trigger subject for you, because I completely understand there are many people who just don't want to think about such things. But I'm like super, like, woo, death, we're all gonna die anyway. I don't know. I guess it's because I've lost a lot of people in my life. And also, Bear's family are in, well, his father is a retired funeral director in Burma, blah, 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 blah. He still teaches somewhat, but, Bear's also growing up around death. It's not a big deal to us to talk about it. What's hard to talk about is, the people. So my first real experience with death would have been probably my grandfather or my dad's side's funeral, but I was very young. And all I remember really is someone getting cookies next to me. I don't know, someone got some biscuits and I was jealous. That's what I remember. I would have been really small. I'm not even sure if my little bro, the one after me, was born yet. I think he was. I don't know. I don't have great memories from that age because I was tiny. So that would have been my first thing. And I probably thought it was really boring because it probably was really boring. And then after that, my little sissy got sick. And so being long-term patients at the hospital, my next death I experienced, as I recall, was one of the children there. And those were like the next few were just, and that they were really sad, those were cool kids, and like it's horrible when kids die. And then my sister, when she died, I know, like, your memory is literally memories of memories of memories of an event. So how I personally recall it is Jordan was very sick in the morning, like nosebleeds and stuff. It was scary, but Mum rushed to the hospital. And then at some point we must have gone into the hospital, and I know Zach and I weren't really allowed in the room or anything, so we were like in the hallway. It was nothing new for us, just another day at the hospital. And then we left and went to one of my aunt's house, who is a wonderful human being, and people say we're a lot alike. And if I can be like a third of her, like of all the trials and tribulations she's gone through as well, like, I'd be a saint. Like, this woman's amazing. Anyway, we went to her house, which was often as well. Like, we went there all the time. She lived by the beach. Honestly, actually make Bear drive me past that house because I want to buy it. But it's now like worth a lot of money because it's right next to the beach and stuff. So we went to Auntie's house, and then we were about to leave. I remember I just put my seatbelt on, and I got to sit in the front seat because I won the battle that we have to who sits in the front and who sits in the back of our big family van. And I was in the front seat, I'm pretty sure. No, I wasn't. I was in the back seat. Zach must have won. This was the days before you kept your kids in car seats till they were 7. So we're getting in the van. We were going to go home. And at the time we lived in a place called Titahi Bay, or Titahi Bay, sorry. And it's maybe a 20-minute drive from Wellington City. So we were about to go home, you know. Da was probably going to get us some food on the way, whatever. And then, we just put on our seatbelts. Sorry, I keep thinking out of frame. And my auntie came flying out of the front door, which is the door that wasn't used, and just screamed my dad's name. She's not breathing. And thank God the car was on. I'm sorry, I'm gonna well up. So we went to the hospital, and then there's blankness. And then I remember sitting in the nurse's station. Sorry, I've got water. Sitting at the nurse's station, hungry, not really knowing what was going on. I still don't know what happened. I don't want to ask. Mum, if you're watching this, you know what happened. We were sitting in the nurse's station, and my older brother and I were playing. We found it was like a lap tray, and it had beans in it, like a bean bag. And we stuck one in the little nozzle of the water fountain, big, water cooler, and we were like, oh, and then we turned it on, and thankfully it fell out. At this time, my brother was a teenager. God knows. Oh man, what was going through your head? And then we did it again, and we couldn't get it out. And then someone came, a doctor came to get some water, and it was fine, nothing happened. And we're like, oh, thank goodness. I remember in my brain it was like, oh my god, 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 if they know it was me, I'm gonna go to jail. And then someone else came in and poured themselves some water, and it popped out, of course. And it was just, I don't know, it was really funny because their face was just like, I don't know, it was like, I don't know, I think there's cat drama going on out over there. That was the light in that day. I remember we had McDonald's for dinner because the hospital is still to this day perfectly in between 2 McDonald's. I'm saying a lot, I am sorry. I remember, sorry, I got a little panda soft toy, and I remember it just kept popping up until my entire life, and always thought of that time when I saw it. I don't remember being told Jordan died. I don't remember where my little brother was in a lot of this. I remember being put to bed in Mum and Dad's bed, but I couldn't sleep. And then friend of the family who had previously lost a son came, and I remember not being able to sleep, so she takes my mum and I to the service station because it was open 24 hours, and we got snacks. Like, I remember it's like snapshots of moments. Until her funeral, I remember helping pick out a photo to put on her headstone, choosing the font of the headstone. Sorry. Decorating her casket. It was white, and she loved Bananas and Pajamas and Barney. And we had like wall transfers of the bananas. And I remember Mum very carefully taking them off the wall, and we put them on her casket. And then everyone wrote inside the lid. And I had this bracelet and I loved it so much. I put it in there. My mum put in like money to bribe St. Peter to let her in. That all happened a really long time ago, you know? I only had her for a little time. But I still get like this. And that's my first real, like, that's like, oh, I don't know, it's hard to say. I remember it all happened during the Christmas holidays, which were the big school holidays where you get a long time off. I remember having to go back to school, and I was sad all the time. And the other kids didn't understand that you could be sad, and so they bullied me a little bit, which made me sadder. But you know, time and stuff went on. I don't remember going to any funerals between my sisters, and then my grandma, or my nana, I called her, sorry. So my nana was in very poor health for as long as I knew her. We called her Nana Dragon. I don't think she ever knew. But like, she's awesome. She was an awesome woman. So she was very poorly. And then towards the end of her life, it was scary. She had a Rottweiler called Tyson. And I loved that dog so much. I don't know why that dog hated me, but I loved that dog so much. And for a while, Nana lived next door to us, but then she shifted a few places, and then she was living in my stepdad's rental property towards the end of her life. I remember one time no one could find her. She wasn't answering her phone, which was very unusual. And then they got quite worried,
of course, because she was kind of losing her mind. And so they drove up and down the streets, and they found her in her knickers with her singlet on, with her bra over top, because you put your like bra over top to Nana, with Tyson, who was probably double her size and weight. And I remember being told that because I'll never forget it. Our front door was a very heavy wooden and glass door. It made a lot of noise. And I remember just hearing it like be shoved open, like it slammed into the door or the wall or something. So I peeked my head out to see what was going on. And my stepdad was just cradling, think, this is a really stupid comparison, but think Voldemort going into the pot before his body comes back. Just this, and that was my Nana. I know she moved around a lot before she finally passed. And my mum tells a story about how she was really looking forward to the year 2000. It was 99. And my aunt, the same one from my previous story, she was taking care of my Nana at this time and moved up to another small city called Masterton. So she wanted to go away for some reason, probably because she deserved it. So my mum and another aunt of mine, who's the youngest, they were going to go up and spend time with my nan and stuff to make sure that she was okay, while my other aunt went away. She died before that could happen. And my mum always, well, not at the time, but makes the joke now that if Nana didn't want to see her so badly, she could have just said so. She missed the new year by like a few months, I think. At which point my mother was very pregnant with my baby brother. So that was my next kind of major death. I remember then I've had a friend die at one point, and then my stepdad's father, I wasn't able to go to his funeral, and then the year after he passed they had a service putting him in his family plot, his ashes, and that was hard. I really respected him. I'm not even meant to be talking about what I'm talking about. Anyway, and then I had a friend pass away at the start of Bez and I's relationship. He was kind of, for both of us, the friend that introduced us to the friend circle we were both in. Well, I had friends who introduced me to him, and the first time I met him was like my first goth party. He took his own life, and while we weren't as close as we could have been. And while I only really saw him at gatherings and stuff, Bear and I both held him. You know, we knew the bad things about him. Don't get me wrong. But you know, he was just who he was. And he also got the last laugh because he'd done it so he could have a Halloween funeral. And I'm talking about all these, and what I'm wanting to say is, like, it's okay if you grieve differently for each person you've lost. For my sister, you know, I knew that she was really sick, and she was pretty much really sick her whole life. But I also spent so much time with her. And then I lost her, and I was very young. So, with my grieving process with that, it's ongoing, you know, like, and I find out new things about her condition and stuff. But I also know that she had such a uncommon type of cancer, which didn't take her in the end. She passed from a staphylococcus virus. That the things that the oncologist learnt through her is still being used today. And Mum has like scrapbooks and scrapbooks and scrapbooks. And you know, her death still rips my heart out. And it will, probably for the rest of my life, even though. But also, I beat myself up because I can't remember her voice or her laugh. I can't hear her little speech impediment in my head anymore. And then with my, you know, the kids whose funerals and stuff I'd been to before, I was really, really sad. Of course I was, but they were younger than I was. And I didn't have a super familiar bond with them. It was, you know, who do you make parents with when all your free time is spent in the children's world? They were just kids who were suffering too. And they were sad. Especially the ones where Mum was like best friends with the other parents. And then with my Nana's death, I used to beat myself up because I didn't feel like I was sad enough when she died. And I was sad, but I never had like a great relationship with her. You know, it wasn't one of those relationships that you can see in other grandparents and grandchildren. A good friend of mine is like super close to her grandma. And of course I'm sad that she died. And she was young, she was really young when she died, but, you know, she lived long enough to give birth to 11 children and then hide 4 of them, but we found them now and then. In the parts of your life you hear about, you really feel for her because she had a really tough life, especially, you know, as she got older. She made bad decisions which led to like bad consequences. And I'm sad about it still, you know, but I wasn't super close to my Nana. And then who was next? my friend. You know, that was hard. That was hard. But I knew that he had done some really, really shitty things and hurt a lot of people. And you know, I just knew him because he was kind of infamous. So that was hard. It was really hard watching James grieve it. That was like the first kind of death that what was the first kind of death that we went through together. And I remember the day finding out I had work on that day. I was freelancing as a makeup artist, and I had a job on, and I had brought in a training makeup artist because it was going to just be like a day-long shoot, swapping out like sets and stuff. So we were in just one big hall, and James was going to be one of the photographers. So you like the photographers like book a time type thing, and then they can use all the different. That's what was going on. And we'd organised it, and it had been organised for a really long time. And then James Bear got a phone call. And it was a friend of ours looking for another friend of ours. And he was calling to see if we knew where they were, which we didn't, but we knew where they lived because they literally lived above us in the apartment above us. So, you know, like, as I said, our friend was infamous, and he had also been seeing another friend of ours who was also in the cabaret scene, which this photo shoot was for type thing. So our like friend groups were all interwoven. So the guy directing the thing was just like, go, and I was like, I'm leaving my makeup here, because it was just like, go. And at the time we didn't have a car, so we pretty much just like boot it to the nearest bus stop. We were quite fortunate that where we lived at the time had regular bus service like every 5 to 10 minutes. We arrived back to our apartment building, and we just boot it all the way up. No elevators or anything in this apartment. And we don't even really knock on the door. But it's also like, at the time, this friend we were looking for also lived with Bear's like best friend and his partner, who was amazing too. So we kind of just burst in, like, and she wasn't home. And so we kind of woke the other two up. And then that's when I also decided I needed to call my 3 best girlfriends who also knew this person and probably didn't know. This is like, I feel like this was like my first adult death, like all these other things are going through your mind that I never had as a kid. So I call my best 3 girlfriends, and they're all at work at the time, so I leave messages on their phones, and then I I think I text them going like, listen to the message before like social media, blah blah blah. But at the time there was kind of a mutual understanding, like no one really put it on social media because we all knew it wasn't our place, except one person, but that was just a whole different. Anyway, all that happened. We couldn't find her. We went to her place of work and we're like, we need her phone number, and they very rightly was like, no, you panicked weirdo. And not such mean terms, but I think she was found in the end. And then for some reason we went back into the city. I think we were going to go see if the photo shoot ever happened. Like, in all this, I was just like, to this poor girl, I'm sorry, I don't think this will be happening. And so I go back, and things weren't going on. But I grabbed my makeup kit because I didn't really want it, like, unobserved. I had it there for a week. We had this place for a while, and it had already gotten things stolen out of it, so that sucked. So, and then we find out a friend of ours who actually just lived down the road from where we were, kind of everyone was just going there. So we went there for a bit, and it was like the most somber party I've ever been to. We, as a friend group, we spent a lot of time together for the next week, and we rallied around their family. Like, if we can have one good thing about this person's death, it was the introduction of their family to the rest of us, because they're wonderful people. Yeah. And then, of course, he had his big, fat goth funeral, which was as spectacular as seeing him out should have been. The dickhead. Anyway, after that was my cousin. And that still is very raw. My cousin was my next best friend after my brother. This was quite recently too, like only a few years ago. He was the man. He like travelled the world learning Muay Thai and fighting, and he was good at it, like. And growing up, he was always like he was tall and tough, and I thought if I had him, no one could hurt me. And then, like, the story of how he passed is long and confusing. So, one day I get a call from a mum, and she's like hysterical. And this cousin of mine had a brain aneurysm and was on life support and was being flown down to Wellington Hospital. And I lived 5 minutes up the road. I was only beaten there by my uncle, who had a car and lived maybe 15 minutes away, but he was also called before me, as my family does. We just all pulled together. I was giving my brother phone updates and stuff, but because he was in such good shape, it probably saved his life. Little did we know that this was a blessing, because it turns out that the weakness in his ankles he had started having maybe a couple of months before his brain aneurysm turned out to be a more severe form of motor neuron disease called PERMS. I can't remember what it means. And I look at this also through the mindset of a girl who was grieving a friend who took their own life. I watched my cousin die while not wanting to. And I was so angry through the whole thing. And the death between him, my cousin, and my friend who passed is seen a lot through anger. And I try and separate it. And I know it's purely my anger. And you might understand it and you might not, but I hated seeing someone who didn't want to die having recently lost someone who didn't want to live. So I can't help. And I know it's my issue. There's my neighbor's cat. But team, it was so hard. It was 6 months. It took 6 months from when he was diagnosed to the day he left us. My cousin, who was a god in my eyes, who saw himself as his family's keeper, literally had the tattoo, who always sorry, it's still like really new. This big strong man who would always be there. Like, one of my first ever memories has him in it. Well, 2 of my very first memories have him in it. He's just always been a figure. And he was always so nice, you know, because Jacob was our big brother, so we fought and stuff, but fuck. But my cousin, he always stuck up for me, as far as I was aware. Anyway, that's not it. There's so much I'm angry about with the loss of my cousin, and it's still an emotion I'm fighting with, you know, like, and it's so hard. And then after that we lost another friend who took their own life. And there's only been one, like, or 2, like, technically elderly people that I've known who's passed away. And I have so much anger towards everything, and then anger towards me for sometimes wanting to die and trying to proactively cause it. Anyway, I'm also that girl who obviously loves crying on camera. But I don't know, I've been doing so much thinking about life, and I've taken some actions that I don't regret, but I'm pretty sure they were the wrong thing to do. And, like, I'm not sad. These people, well, I'm sad they've passed away, but also, like, in the case of, like, my cousin, having to watch him deteriorate to literally a skeleton with skin. I'm glad that he passed away, because at least he wasn't in all that pain anymore. But I'm angry it had to be him. And with my friends, I'm just like, I'm angry, but I understand, but I'm angry, you know? And with the kids, it sucks. It sucks when kids go, and it leaves an unbearable hurt in whoever knew them. And I wish more than anything my sister could have gotten well, and I could be telling stories about stupid things my sister and I did, because unfortunately, while I have like the coolest stepsister ever, we never like lived together at any point. My mum and my stepdad didn't live together until I was 18, and they well, my stepdad had already chosen to move up for a job, and so my mum decided that she wanted to go because, you know, Ethan and stuff. Sorry. And and then my stepsister, she went to boarding school, so we never really got to live together. So our relationship's always been different, which makes me neither sad or happy, you know, it's just the way it is. But I still got to watch her grow up in that, and like, it's so amazing to see who she is now. And the same with my brothers, you know, like, I'm glad Ethan didn't have to go through losing a sibling in the same way that we did. Sadly, recently he lost a friend. So he's having to go through those emotions. I know I'm just rambling on and on and on. I literally could talk about my family forever because I have no friends. Actually, I had coffee with the girls yesterday. Anyway, I'm gonna stop rambling. I'm gonna stop crying on the computer because I'm not actually that person. A friend of mine are planning a thing that we're gonna try out on you all called the Wine on Wine. Can you guess what it is? But I guess that's all for today. Sorry again for crying on camera, but it's my specialty, obviously. Maybe I should do it on the bathroom floor, Trisha Paytas style, because if I'm gonna like cry on camera, I should like be like the Queen. Oh God, I love her. Anyway, rambling. Sorry. Gotta go. Bye.